Good morning.
Good morning.
So I love when experiencing the synchronicity that happens here. I know I've said this before, that we don't plan how the music comes together with the talk and everything and the daily word, and we don't make that happen. It just happens, and it just amazes me to feel that and watch it happen every single Sunday. So, you know, this paragraph in the daily word today, the Gospel of Luke shares that Jesus, quote, speaks to them about the kingdom of God, unquote. Jesus knew that healing could occur with a change in consciousness, whatever the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms. Faith in new and unlimited possibilities allows a healing to happen. By focusing on the kingdom of new consciousness, to which Jesus calls us, spiritual understanding can and will express as healing. So we're in our second week of our Rewriting Your Story workshop. And yesterday, our talk centered around balance and honoring all parts of ourselves. And Jerry, I loved how you said that you think of it as four wheels, like of a car.
Yes.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And I've always affirmed I'm vibrantly healthy in mind, body, spirit, and heart, the same four wheels. And so if you think about those four wheels and balancing all those parts of your life, it sounds like a tall order. And maybe it is. But I think life is about tall orders. And what we are challenged to remember is that it's not tall as in we can't accomplish it. That is, it is a divine calling, but all within our power to accomplish. And so what really does it mean to honor all four, keep all four wheels of life balanced, mind, body, spirit, and heart, on a daily basis? And one of the things we need to do is be fearless about looking at our lives. And that's what we've been doing in this Rewrite Your Story. Because in order to rewrite the story, you have to get real about the current story. You gotta be willing to just open your eyes and look at what's happening or what's not happening that you want to change. And sometimes the picture that we get of what's happening or not happening isn't pretty, or it's painful, or it's disappointing, or we feel shame around it. Or we would rather not look at it because it's not something we want. It's not something we planned. It's not supposed to happen here and now. It's not supposed to happen at this age, with my level of education, with all the work I've put in. Right? And we keep feeling these things around where our life is, and the patterns keep happening. And so the workshop was devised so that we could look at those patterns and then break the pattern, break the chain that often has us around the neck. Right? Like the choke chain some people put on their dogs. And you yank the chain and it pulls the dog back and you lose your breath for a minute. And isn't that what happens when we come face to face with our lives sometimes and where they are? And so if we go back to the analogy of the four wheels on the car, and one wheel's got less air in it, or it goes flat, as some part of our life sometimes goes flat, and then you've got that clunking that happens when you're trying to drive along. Right? You know you can hear it. Boom, 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 boom. And sometimes we drive along even though we hear it bumping. And you keep you just, is that me? Is that, or is it the car next to me? Somebody else's wheel out of balance, right? And then you start to pay attention and then you feel your car doing this. All of a sudden that Saturday Night Live thing came to me. Guys in the nightclub. But really, isn't that, all of a sudden one wheel's off. And then the other ones are out of balance. And the other ones start to tread differently. And then all four of them, each of them is kind of off kilter. And it's time to get them all back into balance again. So it almost feels like we've got these 4 balls, 4 wheels up in the air. And we have to do something with them. And they're continually making that noise. And we're clunking along. It's going to be my thing all day today. And we don't want the clunking. We don't want the noise. We don't. But we've got to look at the noise, realize that we're out of balance, be willing to pay attention that something is off, and then get out and look at the tire. Pull it off. Realize that it's flat. And get a fresh new tire. And sometimes we have to put the donut on until we get the right tire, right? So you get something that kind of helps you move along for a little bit. So it doesn't make the clunking noise. You're not as out of balance, but you've made a little bit of progress. But still, you've got to look at the flat. And you either have to take it to be fixed or replace it. And in our world, in Unity World, that means a change of consciousness. How do I shift my thinking about what is now presented to me about my life? So before we can shift the thinking, the consciousness, we have to get a full picture of what's there. Why'd it go flat? So it can be that there's a nail in it. And then slowly the air seeped out. Little bit over a little bit of time until you had a flat. It may not have happened all at once. Might have been a slow decline. So does that mean that maybe if you're having issues about health, that maybe your eating habits were off a little bit? With me, it might be, I'll have a snack before I go to bed one day. And then I do it the second, the third day, fourth day. And the snack maybe wasn't fruit, but it was a bowl of ice cream. And then I seem to have always been in a pattern where I'm either on or off. I'm either wheels flat or all 4 of them have an air in them, sufficient air in them, and I'm balanced and riding well. So I'm either all 4 wheels flat or all 4 wheels going well. I usually don't do 1 wheel flat. And so I go on momentum like that sometimes. And as long as I'm going good, life is good. But all you need is the one nail in the tire to have that slow release. And all of a sudden you're someplace you don't want to be and the tire's flat. Or can it be that you ran over something sharp and the tire went flat quickly? And it may not have been something you did. It might have been something presented to you in your life. You know, suddenly your spouse tells you, I don't want to be married anymore. Suddenly there's an illness in the family. Suddenly you lose your job. You know, it can come upon us really fast. And then we get to look at it, realize the tire's flat, and get out and fix it. Or put the donut on and do something in between that helps us start to get back on the road and build up a little speed. You know, with the donut, they tell you not to go over a certain speed, so you drive a little bit more slowly. And they tell you don't go for too long on it, not to put too much mileage on that donut. So life is kind of like that, where we kind of have to go a little slower, pay deeper attention to what's happening in our lives so that we can get a full picture of the story and start figuring out, how am I going to rewrite this? How am I going to break the pattern? How do I keep from getting that same tire flat again? Whether it's the mind, body, spirit, or the heart. So we need to be fearless about looking at it. It can't hurt you. It can only serve you. And sometimes we run from whatever the picture looks like because of the emotion around it. We're afraid to be with our emotions. But it's only feeling. It can't take us under. But it often feels like it. But the more we practice about being with ourselves, that's why meditation is a great discipline, because it teaches you how to be with yourself. And being with yourself, remember, is being with God, because we are that divinity. We are that divine spark. And as your humanity is threatening to drown you, remember, like we talked about last week, that there's the light at the horizon. So sit in your emotion. Sit in whatever you're feeling about what happened to that tire. And let it just flow out. So that when you're ready to get rid of that tire, release the flat tire and get a new one, you're thoroughly released. That you're not carrying a piece of that glass or that nail that flattened that tire. You know, when we get rid of the baggage, we want to get rid of all the baggage. Sometimes we take stuff out of the baggage and we want to carry it with us. You know, a couple of shirts, pants, shoes.
Yeah.
Feelings we don't quite want to release just yet. Patterns we don't want to release just yet. You know, we want to get rid of some, but not all. We're kind of halfway in, not all the way in. I'm okay with clunking. Maybe you don't clunk like this. You do this.
That's
Clunk.
resisting, no?
Clunk. 1, 2, 3, clunk. But maybe a clunk every third step is better than every step. Progress, not perfection, right? So when you're ready to let go of it all,
Yeah.
let go of it all. Give yourself a break.
You have to let go of the resistance to let go.
Yes. Realize that that's resistance. And what I read in this book, Discover the Power Within You, I'm going to read an excerpt from that soon, is that sometimes we're holding on to something because it serves us in some kind of way. There's something you need from that baggage right now.
it's like, what's the payoff here?
What's the payoff? And there is.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, when I was getting sick every 3 to 4 months, and I had the flu, I didn't know what was going on until I read that passage in the book about that there's some payoff from that, and it immediately made me angry, and I thought, that can't possibly be. I don't want to be sick. And when I thought about it some more, and then I got the realization about why, I didn't like what I saw. And what was revealed to me is that I got sick every 4 months because my wonderful husband is very, very good at taking care of me when I'm sick, and I wanted that attention.
Oh, man.
What's this hardcore thing? I know. He deserves a trophy for living in prison.
Run out there in the cold, man. You can get sick.
And so I thought, I just need to be a big girl. And when I want attention, ask him for attention. A whole lot easier than being sick every 4 months. But I was attached to that and didn't want to let it go. Until I realized how pathetic is this. That was not a good feeling to look at that. Because I, considered myself walking around thinking I'm a woman of power and thought, oh man, this is not powerful.
Yeah, it's double-minded.
Yeah, yes. Saying I wanted one thing, but acting otherwise. Man, that tire was really flat. In fact, it probably ripped the tread right off. And I'm just on metal. Right? Yeah, that was a pattern for me. And so I had to learn how to speak up and be a grown woman. Right? What do they say? Get your big girl panties on? Yes.
What they say to men?
Boxers?
Same thing.
Big boy boxers. Same thing. Yes. Because that's all about, that's where divinity is. Being the big girl, the big boy. Am I really a person of power? And balance those wheels again. You have the power to do all that. But we don't invoke it. We don't claim it. You can always get the tires rebalanced. You can do it at any time. We have the tools. Those are your 12 powers. Faith, imagination, right judgment and wisdom, life, love, order, power, renunciation, strength, understanding, will, and zeal. All 12 of them are at your disposal all the time. But when we forget and we start invoking something other than our divinity, that's when the wheels start to get unbalanced. And that's when we start to clunk through our day and through our lives. And sometimes we can clunk along for a very long time. And so the people that have come together for this workshop have realized, some of us are realizing, we've been clunking along in this one area of our lives for decades. Decades. And we want it to stop, but nobody's going to stop it but us. Nobody can pull the car to the side and say, it's time to make a change, it's time to change the tire. No one can do it but us.
Can I say, Kim, it's so wonderful to have that group, and this group, where we do all feel safe and being who we are and looking at our off-balance places
Flat tire.
and having unconditional acceptance from other people and not judging. And
Yes.
being able to talk about it is so healing. And thank you, because you're so authentic, and it kind of gives us permission to be so authentic and so safe and saying, this is where I'm really off, and yet I'm a master in these other areas. We're all kind of like a carousel. Some of us have great health, and
Yes.
yet our finances might be off, or our relationships, or I just saw that yesterday, kind of like a carousel, and yet we all just embrace the perfection in each other, and it's helping us to kind of rise up
To rise together,
strong,
to rise strong
rise
together,
strong
yes.
together. It's
Yes,
just, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And one of the key factors is finding someone or a group or community like this where you can be authentic about what's happening. And you can bring that forward and say it out loud, because sometimes we need to say things out loud before we can change them. That's how we recognize them. That's how we release them into the world and say, okay, I'm tired of holding this. I'm giving it up now. And say it to somebody who can hold the space for you while you're feeling less than.
We can take responsibility for it and move on.
Right. So you have that reckoning that Brene Brown talks about. Have that reckoning and then move. So this is what Eric Butterworth says in Discover the Power Within You. Perhaps we have been living superficially, pursuing artificial goals, living under false standards, conforming to acceptable patterns in the world around us. To repent means to open the eyes of spiritual perception and see life in a new dimension, to see hidden realities behind every appearance, to resolve to face toward our Mount Olympus and make every step we take go in that direction. Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." What is this freedom? It is not license to live without restraints, but the inward motivation to tame the raw spiritual power that is within us, to harness our divine potential, and to move in the direction of our highest good. Schiller holds that freedom is not doing as we like, but becoming what we should. Freedom is not doing as we like, but becoming what we should.
That's discipleship.
Yes. And he follows with, this is a meaning of the word that should be broadcast widely today. Because we all talk about freedom as if we want to let go of something, as if it absolves us of some kind of responsibility.
Yeah.
But really, freedom is about calling our higher selves and being all that we should be.
Amen.
And I've realized that when I've got all four wheels adequately aired and balanced, and then you smoke along in life easily and effortlessly. And it's easier to take to the road when the storms hit and there's water all over and the water's getting high. It's just easier, and that's where your freedom comes in. That's when you start to feel freedom, be freedom inside, and others get to see you as free and powerful. All four wheels balanced and going. And so then you're not driving the clunker. It's just kind of, puffing, the smoke coming out and exhaust all over the place and making all kinds of noise. You're like this well-tuned Maserati. Yes, vibrantly healthy in mind, body, spirit, and heart. So it's up to us to stop living superficially. Because life is consciousness, and if we're not working on our consciousness, then we've missed the point. And that's the point at which real change happens, and where real freedom just becomes who we are and what we do. And then we can go into the world to bless it every single day. And isn't that what we're here for? We've talked about that. It's not about just getting up and going to a job and slogging through 8 hours, and then at the end of the week, trying to have 2 days off so you can kind of get some rest, get a few things done, and then you start the rat race again. We were born here to bless the world with the gifts we've been given. And until we have all 4 wheels balanced, we really can't get the job done fully and well. For ourselves and for the world. So take a deep breath. Breathe in freedom and love, knowing that freedom is when you are living at your highest and best. Continue to breathe deeply as we go into our special meditation.